time for KFM Hot Seat. Catch the fire tonight on KFM's Hot Seat. Every weekday, 7 to 8 p.m. It's hot, it's live, provocative, and digs deep into the issues. It's KFM's Hot Seat. The hottest debate on all relevant topics, live on KFM's Hot Seat tonight. KFM's Hot Seat. Every weekday, 7 to 8 p.m. KFM's Hot Seat. Only on 933 KFM.
Hello, Uganda. Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Hot Seat on 933 KFM. I welcome you, our listeners, across this beautiful land, the Pearl of Africa. My name is Patrick Amara. Tonight, we have witnessed today several shops remained closed throughout in central Ugandan districts of Masaka, Mubende, Luwero, and Mityana. Why? Traders have continued their protest against unfair taxes and URA's electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution, IFRIS. Police and the army also deployed in the capital Kampala after traders closed shops protesting IFRIS. And so this is our focus for discussion tonight. And my first guest joining us online is the Deputy Executive Director, Kampala Capital City Authority, Engineer David Luyimbazi. Thank you so much for joining us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Kamara. Good evening, listeners.
Thank you for giving us your time. And I know you must have been very busy today. You have traders in Kampala who are protesting IFRIS, or the electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution. And it looks like they are standing by and they are really determined to go all the way to show their dissatisfaction and their frustration with the URA. But you are an administrator of the city. Tell us how this is going to be solved.
What I would say is this: I would urge the traders to be calm. I think the issue is about people not being made very aware about the benefits of IFRIS. With IFRIS, you can track how much taxes you're paying. You can track your VAT returns. You're able to have up-to-date records of what your taxation is. Now, of course, for people who don't want to pay taxes or used not paying taxes, it becomes a challenge. It's not something that is going to happen very quickly. People are going to embrace very quickly. But once the benefits are known, if you're aware that you can be able to redeem your VAT payments, be able to sort out, be able to redeem your VAT in exchange for other benefits, you can be able to understand the benefits of having your tax returns up to date all the time.
You know, Engineer Luyimbazi, this is what you say. This is what you say as KCCA, as you. But the people who are running the business in Kampala find it hard. You're telling us that it's an enabler of business to help them to make their business records. But the people who are actually in the business itself are saying, no, they are not happy.
I know, of course, people will always be unhappy about, there's no country in the world where people are happy with paying taxes. But I think the issue is we should put more attention to sensitization, education, knowledge, so that people know the benefits of having a system that is able to track your payments to government, your payments in your business, how much are you making in terms of profit, so that you have something that is a state-of-the-art solution, so that you have a very good idea about how your business is performing, how much tax are you paying, and how can you take advantage of your tax position in the country. Of course, it takes time. I understand people are not, it's not something that you can implement immediately. It is something that requires some time. People need to be given time to understand the benefits. It's only when the benefits are properly understood and appreciated that this system can be embraced.
But in
we're going the world over.
Engineer Luyimbazi,
Yes.
Luyimbazi, this IFRI system began actually in 2019. So in other words, the traders have been soldiering on with the same system. You know, it is one thing for you and URA to say the system is good. And yet the people who are using it are saying no. So how can you be talking about that it's glorious, it's good, it's enabling the system, yet the people who are supposed to be benefiting are saying we don't want it?
Mr. Kamara, the person who pays the taxes is an individual like me and you. It's not the traders, actually. The traders, okay, meet the the upfront cost of taxes. But I and you are the ones who pay the actual taxes. When we buy a book, when we buy a beer, when we buy a soda. In fact, nowadays, whenever I go to a supermarket, I give them my TIN number so that they can be able to reflect my tax payments in terms of the purchase they're making. Me as an individual, I'm the primary beneficiary. I'm the primary beneficiary because I'm the primary consumer. The only challenge we have is that now traders incur the upfront costs. Now, if Mr. Kamara, all your transactions as an individual, you subscribe to the IFRI system, you could appreciate the benefit. The benefit of IFRI is to the individual Ugandan, not the traders per se. The challenge, of course, is the traders meet the upfront cost, which creates a challenge for them to absorb.
So are you appreciating the upfront cost because there's buying gadgets, there is electricity, there is computers and the phones and all this kind of stuff? They have to buy them, and also you have to, with all respect, there are some people who may not be computer or tech savvy to be able to do this. Are you appreciating that fact?
Yes, I do. I do appreciate the fact. That's why I'm saying dialogue is the most important part. We need to understand where the traders are standing. We need to understand where the Ugandans are also standing on this matter. Many Ugandans are losing out on VAT payments which should accrue to them that otherwise are not declared to URA. You can go to a bar, you can go to a shop, buy stuff, remit VAT ostensibly, it's supposed to go to URA, it's not remitted. Now, what happens is that services are never delivered to the country. So, but at the end of the day, all I'm saying, let's have dialogue, let's have understanding, let's appreciate where the traders are standing, let's also appreciate where government is standing. The cost of collecting taxes needs to be lowered.
How are you going to have dialogue, Engineer Luyimbazi? How are you going to have dialogue when you are going to downtown to look for taxes with the armed men? You're basically asking for taxes on the barrel of the gun.
Of course, I didn't know that there was gun payments being executed right now.
No. Because the traders have raised it as one of the complaints that the enforcement officers, when they go down there, it is even making the environment looking like it is a garrison. So
no, at the end of the day, as government, what we're looking for is voluntary compliance, where every party, every partner in the ecosystem of tax payments appreciates their role and benefits in complying with a system that benefits everyone.
You are deputy ED Kampala Capital City Authority. Haven't you had a complaint from the traders in Kampala that the enforcement of the tax laws in Kampala is so stringent to the way of, deploying soldiers that make their lives hard?
Of course, by the time enforcement is deployed, voluntary compliance would have failed. But as I said, dialogue is the most important thing. And where we're going, dialogue is the issue. We need to have a sliding scale to grow people into this system. Of course, with this resistance, they need to step back, appreciate the challenges the traders are facing, and then be able to see that there's synchrony between the tax collectors and the taxpayers. At the end of this, so that we all benefit. There's no need for acrimony in this event.
There are those who are into the garment industry, importing, and they said the mode of paying taxes was changed from a percentage to paying taxes per kilo, and then they found that a bit, hard. I mean, eating into their margins too much.
of course, as I said, dialogue is the most important platform to be able to resolve these issues. The reason why government doesn't want to import finished products is so that if you have a factory in Uganda that processes a garment, processes clothes, you create jobs. You're able to improve the economy of the country rather than create jobs outside the country, where you bring imported and finished things that are being done outside the country. The background, the principle behind saying don't import finished products is intended to benefit the country. So again, many people don't appreciate the fact that we're trying to create jobs for the country, we're trying to grow the GDP of the country. Now, again, that's why I say education, sensitization, and overall awareness is important. We need to invest more in informing the public so they have buy-in, because they're the principal payers of this.
So, but at the end,
appreciate the
one of the complaints, for example, in the local industries, I can understand buy Uganda and build Uganda strategy is good, but they are saying an investor would come from Asia or anywhere and is giving incentives to put up a factory, let's say in Mbale, to make garment clothes. But at the end of the day, the same person who got incentives to start a factory will be into wholesale, will be into retail, almost even going into hawking.
Of course, now that's where the dialogue is important. If the traders informed, say that please, if you're a factory owner, you should not be involved in retail, in wholesale. Okay, be involved only in wholesale, not retail. That can be able to cut off the trade in Uganda out of the business. But at the end of the day, we have created jobs for Ugandans. We are paying taxes to Uganda rather than having those jobs created outside in China, India, and taxes also paid in India. The principle is good, but I think the issue is we need to have buy-in by everyone so that everyone can say, yes, this is creating jobs for my sister, my brother, my mother. Okay? This is putting food on the table on the families of Ugandans rather than importing a finished product where Ugandans don't actually benefit.
Let me
value chain should be able.
Let me bring to your attention a new word in Kampala. It's a new word called the Kuyiriba. I don't know whether you understand the Kuyiriba concept, where, in downtown, somebody can be selling in shop B, but then they don't have a particular good for the customer that wants. You jump to shop G, and then you bring it to the customer who is also in a hurry. So at the end of the day, how do you even issue a receipt? For them, they are making money. Transaction has been made. Are you making these technologies with that Kuyiriba concept that is so Uganda-centric?
I'll give you an example of the challenge we also face at City Hall in KCCA. We have that Akasha Avenue where you have so many bars. Yes. You have people who come and park on the roads, park on the shoulders, on the walkways, disrupting people who are walking, pedestrians. You can never design a facility that's going to be suitable for all the inconveniences the public imposes on you. So, Okuyiriba must adjust itself to the tax-paying requirements. Yes, Kuyiriba is part of the ecosystem right now, but the tax-paying system cannot adjust itself to all inconveniences or all dynamics of society. Society must adjust itself to make sure it can pay taxes. So the cost of paying taxes doesn't go so high. Because if the cost of tax collection is so high, that means it is costing us much. We are driving much less from what we are collecting.
Engineer,
inconvenient. Yes.
Engineer David Luyimbazi, I want to thank you so much for the time you have given us, and you have added value to our platform, and perhaps we understand a little more about the issues in downtown.
Thank you, Mr. Kamara.
We're going to take a break, and the hot seat will be right back.
The hottest debate on all relevant topics live on KFM's Hot Seat tonight.
933 933 KFM.
KFM's Hot Seat. Hot Seat. Hear the real story behind the story. Coming right at you. Only on 933 KFM.
Welcome back to 933 KFM, and this is the Hot Seat. My name is Patrick Amar, and you've heard from the Deputy Executive Director, Kampala City Council City Authority, Engineer David Luyimbazi, and joining us now on phone is the CEO, Great Lake Safaris, Amos Wekesa. Thank you so much for joining us, Amos. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Bwana Patrick. It's been a while. Good evening, listeners.
I know, it has been a while. I understand you've been trotting the globe, Amos.
That's what I'm trying to do, is to make, I hope you know that the trotting of the globe is bringing results. Uganda now can proudly say they have a world-class certified marathon by the World Athletics Federation. We were not even on the list as a country, yet we're one of the top 3 running countries on the African continent.
So which marathon is this?
Rwenzori Marathon has had 3 routes certified by World Athletics Federation.
Okay, I hope soon you'll be putting the Kabaka run.
Well, I think Kabaka run is a fun run and has its own advantages. But we're talking about a run that will bring international runners. Many international runners don't go for marathons that are not certified, that are not well measured, that are not cleared. You know.
Okay, congratulations to Great Lake Safaris. But as you try to do that, to make the marathon run professional and recognized the world over, the people in Kampala and the traders are up in arms. Why? Because they don't understand IFRIS, the electronic receipting system or solution, and they think the taxpayers are so prohibitive. They are making, doing business in Uganda very difficult. You are a businessman. What's your take?
Well, I think as a businessman, I think government of Uganda must tread very carefully on this issue of taxes. I think clearly people are starting to see that taxes have a very negative connotation to our economy. You're taxing people in an environment that you're not marketing. Opportunities, like we've always said, this country, no single person wakes up, and well, apart from Audrey, who is now pushing, but there's no single person who wakes up every morning and is bothered about Uganda exporting things and also bringing tourists to consume things. So there's no international, like a very massive international drive to bring business. And yet, we are consuming internationally. Even the phone I'm talking on now is a phone we have bought externally. If you look at your studio, where you are in the studio, from your clothing, everything is all imported, which means dollars leave the country. So the country actually does not retain resources. So I think the government of Uganda must tread very, very careful. People are tired of, being overtaxed, and then at the same time, the resources wasted. Seeing people just, spending on very, very wasteful things, parliament spending money, and ministers spending money, the public servants spending money the way they want, without having an understanding the suffering of a local man. I don't know if you listened to Bessie talk about almost 22 taxes that hotels have to pay, and yet you have no occupancy. But for you to open, you have to pay, taxes somehow, It's a thing.
So maybe what is going to bring some kind of sanity? Because for the proponents of the IFRIS, especially, first of all, IFRIS is not a tax. It's not a new tax. They are telling us it's an enabler. It's going to make work easy for a businessman to keep their records, to transact, and even make things easier. But how come the trader does not look at it from that angle?
But don't forget that we are not manufacturers. Trading is like it's just like what a middleman. These are basically middlemen. And what people are not seeing is that when an item enters the country, like let's say a football, a ball, when it enters the country, the government of Uganda taxes it before the first, seller sells it. The government of Uganda is expecting that when the first seller again sells it, the one has paid taxes and cleared it, and when he's selling it, he should be able to keep a record such that they get another 18% on it. Now, if I am a middleman in Kampala and I'm reselling these balls to people from Arua, then I'm also expecting that when that ball goes to Arua for the final buyer, that guy keeps a record, and then the government of Uganda gets another 18% on it. So people traders are not just stupid. I think people think that because they've gone to class, they think the traders don't understand these things. I think there is need for us to actually rethink about where this economy should go.
So maybe, do you think also there has been a lack of sensitization, a lack of coordination, or dialogue between the tax collector and the taxpayer?
I think the government of Uganda is mistaken. And let me say why it's mistaken. The government of Uganda thinks there's so much money to collect out there so that they can spend. They are not knowing that actually the businessman is struggling to just keep those offices open. If the government bothered about how to improve the business environment, I can assure you that the businessman will not be bothered about paying extra taxes. Let me give you an example. Just give an example of Tanzania. Tanzania this year is going to have an overflow of tourism business, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be more tourists than the rooms available in Tanzania. Now, even the government itself is anybody who is, even me, I'm investing there. Anyone who is investing in Tanzania is being asked to make sure they update the government of Tanzania every 2 weeks on what they're doing in order to increase the room. They're asking which incentives they should give you. But these guys are going to have 100% occupancy from June. And because they're going to have 100% occupancy, paying taxes is not a problem. That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The issue is not even about paying taxes. It's about the government creating an environment that actually creates more business. Now, if you look at trading survives on people's purchasing power. The general person, if you travel around this country, you will see that an average Ugandan has no purchasing power. Number two, you should know that we have over 56% of Uganda's population that can contribute nothing to the economy. Those are 18 years and below. Now, when you look at the 70% of Uganda's population, let's say 35 and 35 below, you'll find extremely very small population that actually has ability to pay. You have realized that direct taxes, about 1,000 companies that contributes between 70 and 80% of direct taxes out of 45 million people. So it is not because people don't want. It's a very small percentage of Ugandans that are shouldering the weight of government consumption at all levels. And
I thought some of these innovations, Amos, are supposed to target the other more Ugandans who have not been paying taxes, because they want to broaden so that many people can be paying, so that you can lessen the problem of a few people, deepening into their pockets to pay more. So they want to broaden, and in so doing, maybe they can also increase the tax ratio to GDP so that more people can pay taxes. When more pay, I suppose, then we don't have to dig deep in our pockets.
But I've just given you an example. The people in Malaba are very busy because of one ball, for example. That ball arrives in Kampala. Guys in Kampala become busy because of that same ball. That same ball goes to Arua. A person in Arua becomes busy because of that same ball. So what I'm saying is that you can want, if you travel around this country, you'll see the level of poverty. You will see that when you go to a place like Soroti, it's a extremely very small group of people that actually have ability to even just look after themselves. I think for me, the key thing is that government must focus on improving the economy. That is a discussion. How do we market the country? How do we position the country for international opportunities in order for us to create an enabling environment, which will then improve on the purchasing power of the population, which will then improve on the ability to pay taxes.
Do you think Ugandans are also perturbed by the fact that even the little money that is taxed from them is not effectively utilized, and somehow they get frustrated when they find the service delivery is poor and yet they are paying through the nose?
Well, when you are struggling with basic life and you hear judiciary has just bought 15 brand new cars, I don't know what they've done, what guys are flying here, some guys are, every day is in the news. In fact, even government should be able to hide some of these things that are being done by some ministers. You're suffering to just maintain a business. Look at us in tourism. I can give you an example. Yeah? Who makes the wrong statements which chase away tourists? It's government officers. You know, people wake up and every day they're telling you ADF, they're telling you disease, they're telling you this. And I can assure you, 90% of the tour operators in the UK have said they're not going to sell Uganda anymore because you cannot predict the environment in which you are working, you know. And many of the foreign tour operators are now going to Tanzania, you know, to try and operate from there. It's a hard environment. So you sit there, you're spending lavishly, and we're struggling to just keep staff. We're struggling to keep people in jobs, you know. And there's no one thinking in that direction. Like I said,
okay.
People are disturbed that people are just wasteful.
So ultimately, if you were to be in a room with the business people and the powers that be, what would you tell them?
If I was in the room with the business people, I'm a businessman, I would say, actually, you're right. This fight must continue. I would also tell the leadership that you should start thinking about how the money is being used. You should start positioning the country for better opportunities. So that when the opportunities come in, I don't think anybody is object to actually paying taxes. I remember somebody from your area calling me and saying, man, you declared 0 in 2020, you declared 0 in 2021. I said the country was locked, for God's sake. We had no business, you know. So guys even don't see these things. So you get frustrated and you say, man, why am I even here, you know? So it is important that the government of Uganda actually listens to this plea and actually people wake up and act on the improvement of the business environment.
Amos Wekesa, CEO, Great Lakes Safaris. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Amos Wekesa there, and we're going to take a break, and the hot seat will be right back.
KFM's Hot Seat. It's hot, it's live, provocative, and digs deep into the issues. It's KFM's Hot Seat.
33933 KFM.
The hottest debate on all relevant topics live on KFM's Hot Seat tonight. KFM's Hot Seat covers all the relevant topics every weekday, 7 to 8 p.m.
Welcome back to 933 KFM, and this is the Hot Seat. My name is Patrick Amar. We have heard from two people so far, the Deputy Executive Director of KCCA, Engineer David Luyimbazi. We have also heard from the CEO of Great Lakes Safaris, and we are now joined by Dr. Aisha Kasolo, Manager Skills Development Facility at Private Sector Foundation Uganda, Chairperson Directorate of Industrial Training and Coordinator Grow Project. Dr. Aisha Kasolo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Patrick. How is your evening?
My evening is good, and I know you do many things. You are a business person. You are, you are also running a project that is quite big. And you sit on many boards of different organizations in this town. You understand the issue of taxation. When the traders, who are also like you in some way, protest the way they are, what do you tell them? How do you respond to them?
I think, first of all, I want to say that Private Sector Foundation Uganda works with URA to engage Kasita and its members to tell them to at least hold on a little bit on the strike. But I think one of the main issues we have in business is understanding its tax literacy. Tax literacy is being able to understand the implications of various taxes. It's like when they say VAT, and VAT is an added tax, the 18% that which is passed on to the consumer. Now, if in my provisions as a business I'm not providing for that, it means that automatically it is going to take away my own profit. Now, a number of business people, as you know, most of them are not highly educated and most of them are not good at bookkeeping. Now, if it makes it so hard for you, if you're working in the informal sector, because their value chain is full of informalities, IFRIS, getting on IFRIS is not a tax, but it makes them feel as if it is making things more expensive. Why? Patrick, if I'm using IFRIS, it tracks even the person who supplies me. It tracks the person who buys from me. Mm-hmm. But in Chikuvo, it is not being done like that.
How is it?
You have people who can bring things to you. They bring a merengue today, they bring donuts, and they bring liquid soap. Young people, they bring for you, sell. They announce on the system.
But
They don't
IFRIS,
have a number.
Dr. Kasolo, IFRIS is for those whose turnover is about 150 million. I understand.
But I can tell you, even you would be surprised that even people who sell in these people on the roads, in these whatever, they can make that money, because how much is 150 million? Look at the sales per day. That money in Chikubo, that money.
So if you have reached 150, if you have reached 150 million, Dr. Kasolo, then it means you can do this, can't you?
As I've told you, you realize that some shops you have like 5 people there, 10 people there. So you determine now, how would you implement IFRIS? For me, I think there is more need for educating of the people, educating them and making it easier for them to understand that IFRIS is not an additional tax. If the process becomes much more clearer, they become formal. You see, they are informal. Informal means it is so hard to even find somebody where you go and you buy and give you a receipt. You always go to Chikubo. Tell me and date where you go to buy something and you get a receipt. They don't. Now, because things are not formalized, it becomes harder. In formal businesses, if this is not a problem, because everything is formal, it's clear. There is an invoice, there is a delivery note, there is this and this. Now, when you introduce informality, it's like when they tell you that I used to do importation before, and because I used to do it in an informal way, you realize that actually at the end of the day, you say, what if I was much more clear, I would even say less? Because you allow people estimate what you're not sure about. If you're not tracking the tax and adding it to somebody else, you have to pay it. And I think that for me, I'm requesting URA to probably give more time to the traders, educate them more. They provide more education and more support. And as they pledge that they are going to put a business facilitation center in those centers, they should, to ensure that the business people are able to appreciate it and are able to pay. It is like when I tell you, like now rent, they have now added, for example, if I go to a restaurant, right now restaurants that on IFRIS, I've seen one in Japan saying, I'm adding 18% on you. You get it. But there are also many cases whereby we buy and they say it's inclusive of that. You get my point?
I understand there are some landlords who will ask them to pay, let's say, 2 million shillings for rent, but then they are giving them a receipt of 500,000. At the end of the day, these things are hard to reconcile.
That is the issue. Because of informality and lack of transparency in operations, that is what is causing a problem. Now, if it requires you to be straight, that you should be able to track right from your supplier how much they supply you a product. That same supplier must be on IFRIS. To be on IFRIS, you must be registered, you must have a TIN number. So IFRIS just makes everything proper. You know it is hard to be clean and proper.
So are you suggesting that IFRIS in a way is exposing the trader, especially the one who wanted to evade or avoid tax? This is exposing them, and that's why they don't want it? Because if it is so good, why are they having challenges with it?
Me as a business person, I say it is hard if I've not been formal. If I've not been formal, to become informal, it is a process. It is not easy. You get my point? So that's why I'm saying URA can take more time to educate them, give them a grace period, get closer to them, support them to ensure they're able to appreciate. They maintain with their profits and maybe pass on that cost to the consumers.
But do you realize that IFRIS has been on since 2019?
But not to the traders. It is just new to the traders. And that's why I'm saying to these traders, let them give them a grace period. They take them through IFRIS. But I've always also said, why don't we also look at supporting some of these traders to become importers of Ugandan-made products? I made that proposal to the president, and he was buying it. You get my point?
To import?
Because also we start selling our products. If it is Mokwano products, Jessa products, they are going now to Congo and DRC. Then it becomes easier. You become exporters of Ugandan products. Export is a very quick route. There are less things, less challenges, and you bring foreign exchange to the country.
I've also heard, Dr. Kasolo, a complaint from the traders that there are some business people, investors who have come into Uganda, investors in quotes, and that they are given incentives, let's say, to start a factory somewhere in eastern Uganda. The same investor will do wholesale. Before you know it, they are doing retail. Even in some cases, they are even hawking.
That's unacceptable.
So how do they compete? How does the Ugandan local business person compete with such?
No,
especially when the cost of money is high, capital.
There should be a regulation on that because, most of these people who come to do trading, they leave their countries on subsidized money. And then Ugandans are struggling to borrow money from banks at very high interest rates. And then they have to pay taxes. It's very unfortunate that you get somebody that comes in as an investor and then they start hawking products. I think that now goes back to KCCA that regulates that. I don't have any comment on that, but for me, I think it's very unfair to Ugandans.
They keep increasing the target for URA to collect. Do you sometimes have a feeling that sometimes the target that is given is so Herculean, so hard to reach, and that's why...
I'm thinking that URA, and I've told them before, they need to think wider. They need to widen the tax base. Instead of milking, it is like where I saw they said they're going to even increase the taxation for people earning 10M and above. When they are felt tax people who are rearing cattle. We have so many cows coming to Kampala. We have so many bananas. These people make more money than even people who are traders. We have so many people growing sugarcane, growing coffee, but they are not paying taxes. They are failing to tax the agriculture sector because they are taxing areas that are easier for them. They should be able to go into those hard areas because those people make money. You find somebody in a season where they sell about 100 million, 50 million, 200 million, and they're not paying anything. And then you have somebody that is having a small business, but because it's easier for you to tax, you over milk it. And then what happens? The whole economy gets shrinked. So I think that URA needs to improve on their research department to ensure that they are able to see more areas where they can tax instead of overtaxing the same people, the same area. Sometimes, let me tell you something. I give you an example. You go and get money. You're a salary earner. Let me use the salary earner.
Yes.
By the time you get your salary, how much is it? How much is gone? 40% is gone, or 35% is gone. It comes through a bank. Every time you're withdrawing that money, it is taxed. Do you know that?
Yes, it is.
Every time you withdraw it, it is taxed. So how much do you take home? You realize how much double taxation is? The same salary has been taxed 35%. When you're withdrawing it, you're being taxed another tax on it. You're just withdrawing. At the end of the day, you have so less. You go and buy something to eat, already taxed, so additional taxes. But at the end of the day, it is too much. And these are some of the things that, for me, I think they need to think so that which other businesses are making money and they're not taxing. The agricultural products. Agriculture makes a lot of money to this country.
Okay.
They're not paying taxes.
All right.
You get it?
Dr. Aisha Kasolo, I want to thank you so much for the time you have given us, for the contribution. Yes. We appreciate your submission tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aisha Kasolo there. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we shall be joined by Deputy Permanent Secretary and Secretary of the Treasury, Patrick Ochailap, will be on this line. Will be on this show.
KFM's Hot Seat. It's hot, it's live, provocative, and digs deep into the issues.
933 KFM.
KFM's Hot Seat. Hot Seat. Hear the real story behind the story. Coming right at you. Only on 933 KFM.
Welcome back to 933 KFM, and this is the Hot Seat. My name is Patrick Amara, and we're discussing the protest by traders because we know today several shops remain closed in Kampala, even Masaka, Mubende, and Luwero, as traders continue their protests against unfair taxes and URA's electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution. We also know that police and the army were deployed in Kampala to ensure that there's no chaos on the streets of Kampala. And we've heard from the Deputy Executive Director for KCCA, we've heard from the CEO of Great Lakes Safaris, we've also heard from Dr. Aisha Kasolo from Private Sector Foundation Uganda. Now joining us online is Deputy PSST, Deputy Permanent Secretary and Secretary of the Treasury, Patrick Ochailap. Thank you so much for joining us, Patrick. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you, Patrick Kamara?
I'm fine. And thank you for joining us, sir. We really wanted to hear a person like you. We know, for example, IFRIS is not another tax. But IFRIS, which is supposed to be an enabler of business, that's how URA and other people have called it, the traders, who are such an engine for Uganda's economy, are saying no. How do you handle this?
Thank you very much, Ndugu Kamara.
Yes.
First of all, the IFRIS is not a new tax. No. It is a system that enables the traders and businesses to issue invoices in the system that captures the various elements of that invoice, including, among others, the items that have been purchased by the person to whom the invoice is being issued.
Yes.
The taxes that are supposed to be paid or collected from that point and remitted to URA, the value added tax that at that point is going to be reported on the issuer of that invoice. And also it helps actually record the amount of taxes that at that point of sale are automatically reflected in the URA system as taxes collected from the items purchased from the point. It will also help the shopkeeper or the supermarket owner to compute later on when they are filing their returns of VAT on the 15th day of the following month. It helps them compute the VAT that they retain as input VAT and remit only that proportion of VAT to the Uganda Revenue Authority as indicated in that invoice. It goes beyond that, so that at the end of the season or at the end of the accounting period, because you have been issuing electronic receipting system, there is a paper trail of the income you have earned over that period. And that gives you a true reflection of the value of income that you have earned over the period. It gives you the totality of taxes you have remitted to URA. It gives you the VAT that you have retained in terms of the input VAT for the items that you have sold.
Okay. You have explicitly and beautifully explained what IFRIS is. In fact, in your explanation, what I get is that it is something that is good, that's enabling business and helping the business people to file their returns. It's supposed to make their work easier. The question is, Mr. Deputy Permanent Secretary, why have the traders rejected it? Why do you think so?
I think it comes from the practice that has been going on for very many years, the informality of the nature of the businesses downtown, and I think most businesses in this country, they have not been used to the formal way of dealing with their trade arrangements. You walk into a shop, you say, how much is that? You say, it's 20,000. I say, no, I have only 15. Okay, 15, pay, and you go. That transaction is not recorded, but it's only the seller who knows how much money is making out of that. So that kind of informality is the one which has become resident in most businesses, and there is therefore resistance to go formal, because then you'll have a very transparent way of reporting the taxes. But it's a better system because the informality has got two weaknesses. It's possible URA will overcharge you when they estimate the kind of withholding tax. Because when I used to withholding tax, when I pay withholding tax, that's my final tax. I therefore don't have to account for my income at the end of the year. But IFRIS now helps both the trader and URA assess appropriate income tax that you are due to pay at the end of the year.
It appears, Mr. Chela,
know how much VAT to claim and retain,
it helps you to know how much excise duty of an item that are excisable you are supposed to remit to URA real time. But now what's happening is that it's a change management that I think might not have been done in a proper manner. Maybe we have not taken enough time to sensitize them about the benefits of IFRIS, which I encourage that the URA needs to put more time to handhold quite a number of these informal sector, install the systems in the places in a humane manner, be able to tell them the advantages of the system and how the system operates and what the system helps them to do in terms of even accounting or even them knowing exactly what their true worth is in conducting business in the economy, and to also help them prepare their final books of accounts in a very systematic and transparent manner, and they pay a fair share.
Okay, so now we are already in a collusion course between the URA and the traders, and it's not good because
I won't call it collusion per se. We are in a situation where it's necessary for us to understand each other. I think that's where we are. We are not colliding because what I know, the meeting took place today between the Minister of Finance and the leaders and the Ministers of Trade. So very helpful discussions took place, and I'm very sure the Minister will be able to issue a statement tomorrow of the position that they have agreed to. And that is the kind of dialogue that which is important, and we are going to continue, and I encourage a continuation of that dialogue, hand-holding these traders to make them understand. I think maybe the speed at which we came in at the URA side was faster than people would cope with understanding it in the first instance and also appreciating the benefit of that system.
But Mr. Chalap, I understand IFRIS actually is system is not new. This started in 2019, I suppose.
Yeah, it started in 2019. But
so why are they having trouble today?
No, you see, in 2019, you remember, I think I discussed with you one time in this very studio.
Yes.
When the system was being introduced. And we said, let's start with supermarkets. And even supermarkets, we didn't start across the country. We started with some quality supermarkets and capital shoppers and all these big ones. We started from the center here. And actually, true to the word, if you go there now, Patrick Kamara, and you buy items, was 200,000. Look down at the receipt from that supermarket. It clearly shows you the items you have bought, the price at which you have bought them, the value-added tax that you are supposed to remit to URA. Actually, that value-added tax which shown that receipt, real time is already in a consolidated fund.
Mm-hmm.
That's the advantage of that thing. And two, at the end of the year, all those receipts of sales for that particular period of time, when aggregated by that sales point quality in Tinder, you find that they know the totality of the income they got, the taxes they remitted, and then a net of their expenses, which may not be part of the receipt, and electricity and whatever is not in part of the receipt, and you find that it's easier for them to consolidate their income, declare the income that they've earned, purpose of income tax, and file their returns very simply.
Are you able at this moment to tell and compute the extent of the cost this strike has caused? Because the economy in the central business district somehow was on a standstill. The banks are not working, the transport sector is not working, the telecom and restaurants. So the economy has taken a big knock.
That's of course true. There are quite a number of losses, and of course those losses are both on the part of the traders as well as the economy, which is regrettable. But we shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have reached that point in time had we maybe approached it with the dialogue approach. And in fact, there was dialogue all along, but I think the dialogue was taking longer than what the traders thought should have been the time it's appropriate. So they pulled the trigger on that lockdown, which I said is regrettable. But I think the only way is to convince one another that open the businesses. It's a win-win situation. We should do that. And we shall be able to handhold you. We shall be able to look at maybe the area of penalties, if they are there, which URA was putting on them, and see what to do with the penalties, and so on and so forth.
You know, when you go to downtown, Mr. Chilib, you'll realize that...
I was there today.
Yes, I'm saying, like, some of us who are there quite often, you know, Ugandans have their own local ingenuity on how they do business. I wonder whether IFRIS is capturing the Uganda-centric ingenuity. In fact, now there's a new word, they call it kuiriba.
Kuiriba means what?
It's for example, somebody can buy an item, can come to your shop, and they don't find the item they want. This guy jumps off of the shop, goes to shop number X, brings the item, and sells this person, and then they pay, they go. You know, this local way of doing their business. These technologies sometimes are not capturing the Ugandan local knowledge.
Yeah, because that's the informality I told you at the beginning, that we are so used to it that we think it's a normal way in which business is done. But I think we can do better than that by ensuring that it's good for you to know actually what you are selling and the income you are earning, and also that you are paying a fair share of your taxes. But most importantly, the growth of your business is better to know how you are moving from one year to the other in terms of clear books of accounts. Because I think that term that you have used,
Kuyiriba.
Yes, that obscures quite a number of things there.
Okay.
You can't quickly pin to know how much expense you're incurring by doing that kind of activity.
All right.
And because you are doing hand cash, doing cash here and there, you find that you cannot easily assess how much expense you are doing real time. You cannot really put your finger to say whether or not you are paying a fair tax. You may be paying withholding tax every time you transact and say, that's a final tax. But you know that withholding tax is supposed to be some advance are waiting for you to account at the end of the period.
All right.
You may find that actually the total of withholding tax I have paid for a year on all activities.
I want
higher than the tax you have actually paid.
I want to thank you so much. In the interest of time, in a few seconds, what's going to be your parting shot, your concluding remark?
My parting shot is that let's calm down, let's businesses resume, and let's continue dialogue from URA with the traders. Let's do more with respect to understanding what works in terms of having the system installed in the places of work, and also tell the traders the benefits of the IFRIS system to their businesses.
All right. Patrick Ochailap, Deputy Permanent Secretary and Secretary to the Treasury, Minister of Finance. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you. Welcome, Patrick.
And that brings us to the end of tonight's edition of The Hot Seat. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same station. Good night and God bless you, Uganda.
The hottest debate on all relevant topics, live on KFM's Hot Seat tonight. KFM's Hot Seat covers all the relevant topics every weekday, 7 to 8 p.m.